All right, so we have finally made it to section 4, the last and final section of this volume. And now we're going to be talking about a very popular package called Laravel Echo. This is the last official package we'll be talking about throughout this volume. And I kind of saved the best for last because this is something a lot of people want to talk about and a lot of people want to learn about. And it provides some pretty cool experiences for the users. So Laravel Echo is a broadcasting and WebSockets framework. This is allowing us to basically work with WebSockets, and that's going to create live updates on our application. And this is going to allow us to do all sorts of cool stuff without the user needing to refresh their page for anything. As soon as something happens, it's automatically pushed down to every device that's looking at a certain page or connected to a certain channel. And so that's one of the things that's really cool about this is kind of the cool things we can do with WebSockets that aren't possible any other way. And Laravel Echo is the way that we can manage those in Laravel. So in this section, what we're going to be talking about is all the stuff related to Laravel Echo. We're going to start off by configuring and installing Laravel Echo. We'll set it up in our project, and then we're going to set up Pusher. And Pusher is basically the server that is going to manage the WebSockets for us. Whenever you work with WebSockets, you're generally going to have another server that manages all the WebSocket connections and that everything connects to in order to receive the updates and stuff like that. Now, Pusher is our version of that because we don't want to maintain this complicated server, which is what all the big companies do to maintain this. And so Pusher makes it really easy for people like us to just create an account and then have basically our own little WebSocket server, so we don't have to handle any of the complicated DevOps stuff around having a socket server. All right, so we're going to set up Pusher. It is free, and it's got a very generous free plan that you can use even in live production. So it's a very good product, and we're going to go ahead and get started with that so we can play around. After that, we're going to talk about and create a presence channel. A presence channel is kind of like, you may have seen this before, but if you're looking at a web page, it may say 10 other people are looking at this web page right now or something like that. And that's what a presence channel is. And we're going to create that as well so you can see who else is reading the blog post at the same time that you are. We'll be building this on a blog. And then after that, we're going to broadcast new comments out to users live. So whenever you submit a new comment or another user submits a comment onto a blog post, it's going to update live on anyone else who is reading that blog post at the same time. And that's what we're going to focus on as kind of the fundamental project that we have. And so that's going to be a lot of fun because you're not going to refresh the page. You're just going to see those comments come in and update automatically. After that, we'll talk about one problem with broadcasting, which is where you have asset duplication. This is when somebody updates something on the page, it broadcasts out to the channel, and then they end up syncing down the change they just made. So they have two copies of something on their web page. We're going to talk about how to solve that, and Laravel Echo makes it pretty easy to manage duplication. All right, so as we move forward, I just want to mention that what we're going to be dealing with in this section is going to be some of the most complicated stuff we've done up to this point. We're going to move fast because we can't have the videos last forever, and so I am going to assume you understand a few concepts before we move forward. First, you need to understand the basics of Vue.js. You don't need to be an expert, but I do recommend you go to vuejs.org. That's their website. Go to their documentation, click on Quick Start, and read through the Quick Start. It's probably about 10 minutes worth of reading, and if you go through and read and digest that 10 minutes worth of reading for the Quick Start, you'll have all the knowledge you need to get started. I'm not assuming advanced knowledge of Vue.js, just understand the basics of what's going on, and then I'll cover all the detailed portions throughout the videos. Next, I am going to assume you have an understanding of Laravel's Event Listener API. If you don't, go to laravel.com, go to the documentation, and then just read the page about events and listeners. It's maybe 5 minutes of reading. Just read it top to bottom, just to kind of understand what's happening. I'm going to assume you already understand events and listeners because we're going to focus on the Laravel Echo portion of that, which kind of sits on top of events and listeners. So I'm going to talk about how events and listeners relate to Laravel Echo, but at least understanding the basics of how events and listeners work without Echo is going to help you a lot with understanding what's going on. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We are going to start by configuring and installing Laravel Echo into our application, just so that we have everything we need to get going and creating some projects. So the goal of this video is going to be to install Laravel Echo and the Pusher SDK. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. We'll also change a few configuration settings in Laravel. Now, if you guys are wondering where I am picking up with this project, I have gone ahead and basically picked up right where we left off with the cashier project in the last video. Now, I did go ahead and break it out, and I have created its own repository for this section. So if you guys want to follow along, you can go to github.com/jacurtis/ packed-laravel-echo, and that is going to be the repository where you can find any updates on any of the videos. Just click on tags or releases, and you can go to and look at any video and see the code as it was during that video. Now, if you guys want to start right where I'm starting, I do recommend that. I've created a new folder called Echo, and that is going to be its own little project, and I cloned it from this full repository URL. So if you go to the github.com/jacurtis/packed Laravel Echo, and then go to /releases/tag/start. That is going to take you to the start tag, and you can go ahead and clone it from that tag, and you're going to get the project exactly how I am right now. Just make sure to run composer install, make sure to add the env file, and then run npm install. So make sure you add those basics that you need to do with every project, but otherwise you'll have the same code that I have, and you can just follow right along. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the code and configure this application to get going with Pusher and Laravel Echo. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this project. We're going to configure our application with everything we need to get started with Pusher and Echo. So we're going to start by going to the configuration file and going down to broadcasting.php. This is where you have your configuration for your broadcasting, which is what we're doing with Laravel Echo. Laravel Echo broadcasting, you'll hear these two terms being used synonymously. Broadcasting is generally what we call on what's happening on the server side, because the server side is going to push out to the WebSocket server, and then Laravel Echo is what's listening on the other end. All right, so we're going to work in the broadcasting here. You can see how down here we have our default. This is basically the driver that we want to use, or you can have a default connection is really what it is. So which connection are we going to be using? And you can actually configure this in your env file under the broadcast driver tag. So let's actually just open up the env file, and let's also open up the broadcast file. And what we're going to do is we are going to just kind of look at this. So here we can find the broadcast driver, and we're using the log broadcast driver. You can see the options are pusher, redis, log, and null. Null means we don't do broadcasting, and then we're going to be doing pusher for this video because that's kind of the server that we have set up. So we're going to be using that one. So we're going to change this in the env file to pusher, and that's going to be the broadcast driver that we use. Now if we scroll down, we can see all of the connections, and the connection that we just set up was pusher. You can see it uses the driver, the pusher driver. It requires a key, a secret, and an app ID, and a few other options. We're going to come back to this in the next video because we need to create an account on Pusher's website in order to fill this in. All right, but that's good enough for us to get started. Now let's go ahead and close that. And the next thing that we need to do is we need to open configs/app.php. Now, if we scroll down in the app.php file, we will find all of our service providers. You guys are probably familiar with this part. Here's all the service providers. What we need to do is come down to the bottom block here and uncomment out this broadcast service provider. By default, this is commented out. We want to comment it back in so that we can start using it. This is going to enable our broadcast service provider and allow us to start broadcasting. All right, so there we go. That's a good place to get started. And then after that, we're basically just need to install the Pusher SDK, or the PHP side of the Pusher server. So up inside of our terminal, what we're going to do is we're going to use composer, require, and we're going to install pusher/pusher php-server. And we're going to install version 3. All right, so go ahead and install that real quick. Now what we're installing here is actually through Composer, so it's PHP, and this is the Pusher, the PHP portion, or the server-side portion of Pusher. So when we broadcast an event, Pusher is then going to push it out to the servers, and that's what this is enabling us to do. Now you'll notice we actually haven't brought in Laravel Echo yet, and that's what we're going to do next. But when we pull in Laravel Echo, what's going to be a little different than what you might be used to is that we're going to use npm to bring it in. So while Laravel Echo is an official package, it is not an official Composer package. It's not a PHP package. Echo is basically a JavaScript package for Laravel. So it handles the JavaScript portion, or the client-side portion of our Laravel project. So we're going to go to npm install --save Laravel-Echo to install the official Laravel Echo package now. All right, so again, this is happening on the server side, unlike these other ones, which are all on the client side, as opposed to these are all on the server side. Last thing that we need to install is we actually do need to install the Pusher JavaScript SDK as well. So we're going to do the exact same thing for Pusher.js. Notice we installed the Pusher JavaScript portion, and then we installed the Pusher PHP portion. Okay, so we covered both of those here. All right, so now that we've got that, we should be good to go. We have all the packages we need to get started. And now in the next video, really before we can start working with this, we do need to fill in the information about our Pusher. In order to do that, we need to create an account on Pusher's website.